Hey guys, how you doing? Liberty Garden coming today from my office, and today I come to you with a recommendation on a couple of books that I own, that I use. They're my go-to references, and I want to make this recommendation for Luis from the Puerto Rico Ready channel, or Mosaic Master channel. Actually, he changed his name, and also for Steve at Corsair Trainers. And these books are real good. One book is more appropriate for one person, and the other one for the other, but they're both very good books. And before I get into the books, I want to talk to you a little bit about permaculture. And I don't know if you've heard the term, the buzzword. It's been around for quite a while, but it seems like lately a lot of people are taking that buzzword and kind of marketing it and selling you permaculture this, permaculture that, and Google beds and all kinds of stuff that they're selling you. So I wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit about that. In 2014, I took a PDC. A PDC is a permaculture design course. I took it online with Jeff Lawton, who is a student of Bill Mollison, who is one of the founders, or the principal founder of the permaculture movement. He kind of coined the phrase permaculture. And Steve Mollison, Bill Mollison, he's a genius of a man. Um, he he began he coined the term because he wanted to design systems to maybe make a better world or improve the world. And the term permaculture is a combination of permanence and culture. So building permanence through culture, or building permanence in culture. And the way he achieved this, he was an engineer by trade, was through the design of systems that come together to achieve a function. And a lot of people think of systems like a computer system or a manufacturing system, but in fact, systems are all around us. They're natural in nature, actually. So, a system is a set of components that come together to achieve a goal, basically. So he started designing these systems to build permanence in culture. And as part of that design, he tried to reduce the maximum amount of entropy in a system, or wasted energy. And these systems tend to be very holistic, but they also extend further out to other regions that are not so much within your control. And as part of this design, he began by labeling zones within a system, and I believe he labeled 5 zones. Zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one is your immediate zone. Your house, how you cool your house, how you keep it energized, how do you cool it, heat it, maybe your immediate kitchen garden, and then maybe system 2 would be your chicken coops, and maybe a little bit bigger of an orchard. System 3 would be a little bit further away from the house, so on and so forth, until you get to the forest, which is way out there. So that's how he kind of designed his areas. But every one of these systems interacts with the other system. And so, for example, if you have a chicken coop or you have cows or livestock, you incorporate those manures into your gardens, and you create soil through that, and then you raise plants and give that as fodder to your animals, and then you consume your animals, and you also get trees that you use for firewood, or maybe you plant trees that your next generation are going to use to build a house. It's very long term. It's a very long term way of looking at life. Just pretty good, actually. And I'm really making leaps and bounds here. I'm kind of skipping a lot of stuff, but that was a little bit his idea. Just kind of build permanence in your life through the implementation of systems and that enable the permanence. And ideally, these systems eventually kind of work by themselves. A lot of the ideas that he took were from Native Americans or native tribes, not Native Americans, but native tribes, where apparently prior to agriculture, there were native tribes that did agriculture but differently than we do it. They didn't go down just plowing down a field or tearing all the trees down to plant corn. Instead, they worked with what they had. They planted in some sunny spots. They planted some root crops, and in other areas they planted some fruit trees. And they all kind of worked in nature, and they disguised themselves very nicely. You couldn't even tell that they had a sustainable living right outside the doorstep or within their territory, but they knew where all the food was and stuff like that. So anyway, he took some ideas from that, and anyway, his books are his primary works are the Permaculture Designer Manual, and that's a very good book. It's very technical. I don't have it. It's not in print right now, and it's also very expensive. But the book that I have and the one that I want to recommend for Mosaic Master is Introduction to Permaculture. And this book, it's not the designer's manual, but it basically touches on everything the designer manual touches on. This book is geared towards people who have some acreage, but you can also use it for your house. And it basically kind of guides you on how to design systems within your property to make it very productive. So, and everything from positioning your house, the winds, solar orientations, to where you put your chicken coops, to where you put your corrals, where you put your crops, your gardens, etc. The access, the pathways, the water. How do you build? How do you keep your water in your property the most amount? And I know for some areas that's not. You want to get rid of the water. It's just there. You just have too much water. But you can also. It shows you how to harvest energy, for example, like using microclimates. And I mean, this will be more for a temperate climate, using walls and rocks, etc., to create microzones for smaller crops or to extend your planting season. So it's a very good book. I mean, I highly recommend this. This is not a how-to book on how to plant the seeds and stuff like that. I mean, there's a bunch of books out there. Quite frankly, I don't recommend any of those. You can just read the back of the package or the seed package and learn everything you need to know about that little plant. But this is more of a book that goes into how to design a property. And if you go online, look up Jeff Lawton. He's got a YouTube channel, and he covers most of this. But I mean, the book is always a good reference because he goes in a lot more depth in the book. And I'm sorry, I mean, Jeff Lawton has his channels. Jeff Lawton is the student of Bill Mollison. Bill Mollison wrote this book. But a lot of the things that Jeff Lawton talks about are in this book. And basically, Jeff Lawton currently has the Permaculture Institute, the Australia Permaculture Institute. He heads that institute, and it's a big teaching school for people who want to learn about permaculture. So anyway, I look into getting this book. It is fantastic. It's not very big. It's not very big. The paper quality is not great. The drawings are not great. But if you know what you're looking for, you'll realize that you will not find this information in any other book out there. The other book that I want to recommend, and this is for more like for Steve or somebody who doesn't have a garden or is trying to figure out what to do with a small piece of land or a small plot or a backyard or whatever. It's Gaia's Garden by Toby Hemingway. And also he was also a student of Bill Mollison, I think he was, or maybe one of Bill Mollison's students. There was like two founders, Bill Mollison, and I forget the name of the other guy who was also Bill Mollison's partner, and they kind of separated. And I think Toby Hemingway comes from that other side of the permaculture movement. But anyway, this book is top of the line, and Toby Hemingway unfortunately passed away a couple of years back. This book is just quality. I mean, just touching it feels nice. The paper is amazing, and the print for the amount of money you pay for this book is worth every penny. It's very beautiful illustrations. And this book also goes into a lot about designing your property, but this is more aimed for the backyard guys. I mean, maybe an acre, half an acre. But they also talk about your zone one, zone two, zone three, etc. And they incorporate animals, livestock, etc. So these are not how-to manuals. They're not. You got to read them. You got to understand, but they're not rocket science either. They're fairly easy to understand. And once you start getting into what they're trying to tell you, you'll start putting 2 plus 2 together. If you want to learn if you want to learn where to plant the seed or on what time of the year to plant it or this or that, you can just read the back of the packet and you'll get that information from there. But you want to learn how to design a small plot of land, where to put your water catchment systems, where to put your trees, what plants are better for certain parts in your backyard. Believe it or not, within your backyard you can create some micro zones that will enable some plants to thrive better than others. For example, you have a lot of shade in your backyard. You could probably do very well doing mint and Swiss chard and plants that have big leaves that don't require that much sun. And then, I mean, an example is sometimes I have a neighbor across the street and they have a window. And this was a neighbor that I had a few years back. And they had put foil paper on their window. And when the sun set, it hit that window, the foil paper, and it bounced right back into my house. And you were standing right there. You could feel the heat from that window coming over to you. I had to go tell him, hey, buddy, put some curtains because that foil paper is really just bouncing back into my house. And this was across the street. But you can do similar things to bring light and bring heat to some plants in your backyard. You can do similar things to bring coolness to some plants into your backyard, things like that. So I'm getting allergies, guys. So get a look. I recommend this book. I mean, they have them on Amazon, I think. They're in print. Both of them are in print. The Designer's Manual by Bill Mollison is not in print right now. It's an excellent book. But they're very good. And again, they're for building systems. And you can very easily, once you start building these systems, you can very easily take those systems to your life as well. I mean, they apply to more than just gardening and livestock. I mean, because you start seeing patterns replicate themselves, and you start seeing them. You start seeing a pattern that works in nature. You can apply it to your private life. You can apply it to your finances, etc. They are design books basically. They call permaculture a design science. I'm not sure if it passes the mustard test for being a design science, but that's what they call it. I don't know if anybody has applied scientific method to it to call it a design science, but it is very comprehensive. They're both very hard. They both stress very hard the importance of building up your soil, the importance of having good soil, because that's where everything comes from, and everything else kind of depends on soil. I think permaculture has 3 tenets, and one of them is the care of the earth. And then this sounds kind of hippie-ish and this and that, but basically, if you don't take care of the earth, you're not really leaving much for anybody else. I think the next tenant is care of your family. I mean, they put the earth above the family because the earth provides for everybody. I think those are the tenets of permaculture. I mean, again, I took that course a long time ago. I haven't really revisited much the theory because I don't really care much for the theory. I care more for the practical aspects of it. But these books really help you out when you're trying to design something in your property. I apply this all the time on my property at the farm. Uh, it's just and you don't even think about it anymore. You just do it, and it's already in there in your head. But if I ever have a doubt about something, if I want to capture water, for example, on property, I mean, they have a whole section dedicated to swales. How to how to build swales to make the water go from one point of your property to the next, to the point where it exits and take the longest route, all on contour, for example. And that's what a swale is. It's a ditch on a contour. And if you live in a dry area, that would be a good thing. I mean, Jeff Lawton, he has a project called Greening the Desert, where he took a barren piece of land in Jordan and has been gradually turning it into a very nice property full of fruit trees and vegetation, with the run of water from some factories that are nearby. And he's been having students go over there and learn about what he's doing out there. Some people may get turned off by Jeff Lawton. I think he's British, Australian British. I'm not sure. I don't know if he's British and went to study in Australia or if he's Australian. But anyway, he is of the Muslim faith. He's basically a Western man of the Muslim faith. And some people may get turned off by that. Don't. The guy is on the level. I mean, he is a top-notch teacher, and he's got nothing but good in his heart. So, I mean, don't be discouraged by that if you ever find out about him or you ever realize what he's doing out in the desert. Man, he basically has a saying that says that all of the problems can be solved in a garden. And to some extent, that is true. You know, you start planting, you start gardening, and suddenly you forget about a lot of things, and you start getting some vitamin D in you, and you start doing some exercise, and you start growing food, and you start getting healthier, and it's good. It's just good. So I encourage you to at least, I don't know if they have these at the library or not, these two books and this one, but it doesn't hurt to buy them. I think I've seen this at the library actually, but I got it. I own it because it's just a great reference manual. And this permaculture, the introduction to permaculture, is also an amazing book. And I got my eye on the designer's manual. I mean, the designer's manual on the last chapter, chapter 14. They're talking about Bill Mollison. I mean, he was such a visionary. He's talking about things that were probably not even around his time, or they were, but they were not mainstream. I mean, he's talking about returning commerce to people, bringing commerce back to your community. Okay, basically getting the government out of your life. I mean, if you look at it, if you follow their ideas, if you follow what they're doing, you're basically building sustainability and independence outside the systems that bring support to modern day society. And that's what it's about, I think. When you start gardening, when you start building things for yourself, and you have to rely less on the government, you only weaken the government, and you become stronger. As you get stronger, the government gets weaker. It is when everybody gets real weak and dependent that the government grows real strong and can do whatever they want. And these permaculture books give you the tools, and More of the tools, they plant the seed in your head to do it. And then you just see the world a little bit different. You see a piece of land and you start thinking, how can I improve this? How can I make it better? How can I turn it into a productive piece of land? It's just weird. But anyway, folks, thanks for watching. Hope I didn't bore you too much. I really don't show my face much on YouTube. But I like these books a lot. And hopefully take a look at them. Until next time.